Good afternoon, and welcome to the Wednesday afternoon conference call with Trusts Unlimited. This is Jim George speaking. I'm the non-attorney spokesman and facilitator for Trusts Unlimited, and I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. Today is August 20th, 2025. We've been at this for quite some time, but I honestly believe that this long ride is just about over, and I'll get into the reasons for that statement in just a moment. I'd also like to mention that we have received an avalanche of contacts, phone calls, emails, texts from people wanting to get our initial trust package, wanting to amend their trust, specific questions. And a great number of you have not had an opportunity to respond to. As soon as this conference call is over, I will be on the phone. I apologize for not getting back to you sooner, but there's only one of me, and because we are near the end, and I think a lot of people sense it, we're being contacted by individuals, many of whom we've spoken to quite some time ago, but they've been patiently listening, and they've decided, I think it's time to get my trust established, and so I will do my best to contact you as quickly as I can after this call. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to mention, for the last couple of calls, I've been talking about August has been a very eventful month in Iraq, and with regard to the reinstitution of their currency. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen in August, but at this point I wouldn't be surprised if that were to occur. And the reason I say that is because of the public statements made by President Trump. Now, before I get into that, I want to qualify a little bit about President Trump. He's an unusual individual. No one's lukewarm about him. They either like him or they don't like him. However, the people that don't like him use as their rationale his personality. What they can't say is that he doesn't get the job done, because he does. I mean, if anyone were to say that, you know, they've lost the argument right there, because what the guy's done is absolutely incredible, and I really think he's the last piece of the puzzle to get this thing done. Let's just take a look at what he's done since he's gotten back into office. He has neutralized Iran. He has re-implemented what we call the Golden Age, the establishment of the international tariffs. He is in the process of substantially reducing the federal income tax, and we've discussed this: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. The next is no tax on Social Security. And so he's transferring the revenue from an internal tax structure to a tariff system. He is ending wars all over the planet. He just had an historic White House meeting. I've never seen anything like it. He's sitting at his desk in the Oval Office, and sitting around him like school children are leaders of basically most of the Western world. So it's just been unbelievable. Now, there are a couple of things going on right now that he actually discussed way back in his first term. First, the establishment of Space Force, and I'll explain why that's relevant today. And the other thing was eliminating our trade deficit and having an equal playing field globally, referring to, of course, currencies. Now, at the time, the example he gave was the Chinese devaluation of their currency in order to corner trade markets, and that's still going on. But it also incorporates countries like Iraq and Vietnam, who, for a variety of reasons, are in a program rate. In the case of Vietnam's been unnecessarily in a program rate for decades because they're under the Chinese umbrella. All of this is crashing down, and Trump's got a lot to do with that. As a matter of fact, this week he threw down the gauntlet, and he gave the CBI of Iraq roughly 2 weeks to complete their monetary and banking reforms. and they're going to have a problem with the U.S. Treasury if they don't do so. He wants them to comply with international standards and practices. He has provided for them the services of Ernst & Young, K2, and the Oliver Wyman Group. These are international firms dealing with accounting and auditing for central banks and large international conglomerates. The U.S. Treasury now is essentially the guardian of the Iraqi banking system, and they are right now in the process of implementing the Wyman Group protocol. So things are really picking up momentum, and let's see, today's the 20th. We have another almost 2 weeks left in August, and again, I would not be shocked if we got this thing done in the month of August. Certainly September, but possibly even August. Trump also is using what he used in his first term. He's using Space Force and its quantum sensors to locate Iraqi dinar both in and out of the country. They're tracking them down. They're going to be returning them to the Central Bank of Iraq, or they're going to nullify them. And that would affect a country like Iran that's been pilfering from Iraq for decades. So Trump has really managed to force Iraq to complete the work that they've been involved in for some time. Now, those of us that have had currencies for 5, 10, 15 years have been very frustrated with Iraq. It's been 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's been misinformation. It's been interference by Iran and other countries. But Trump has come in and he's put everyone on notice. All of this nonsense has to stop. We have to get back to business. We have to get this job done. And those of us that hold the Iraqi dinar and other currencies as well are going to be the benefactors of what's coming, and well-deserved at that. Many of us purchase currencies expecting this thing to be resolved within 6 months to a year, and then the years pass, and you begin to wonder if this is ever going to happen. And one of the first things I thought when Trump got reelected was, that's the last piece of the puzzle. I honestly thought that the only way this would get done is if Trump was reelected, and of course that's what happened. But let's talk a little bit about Iraq. There are individuals, important players in Iraq. There's Soudani, the Prime Minister of Iraq. There's Alak, the Governor of the Central Bank of Iraq. There's Salih, the Minister of Finance. And there's Barzani, that's the President of Kurdistan. But let's talk a little bit about Alak and the CBI reforms, because they've been making great progress recently, closing the gap between the official and parallel rate. They've published information about the deletion of the zeros. They're detailing the compliance with the international standards and practices in order to implement the reinstitution revaluation of the Iraqi dinar. Then there are the collaborative efforts again between Baghdad and Kurdistan. Again, this is Soudani, Alak, Salih, and Barzani. They've come to an agreement on the sale of oil through SOMO, with the surplus profits to be distributed among the citizens. This involves also the payment of salaries, the release of the HCL, and what's happening right now as we speak, which is the 11th hour amendments to the 25-26 budget, which in my opinion involves Article 12-2C, which holds the new rate for the Iraqi dinar. Now, for years, I was of the opinion, and this is based on with what happened with the Kuwaiti dinar years ago, I was of the opinion that what they were going to do was utilize the dollar to near the end. Then they were going to reinstate the dinar at a slight premium over the dollar, and then allow it to float to find its Basel compliant rate, which I estimated to be above 322, the rate that the dinar was when it went into a program rate decades ago. But now I'm beginning to think that they might just bring the dinar back at 322 or even a higher number, a higher rate, rather than float it at just a slight premium over the dollar. Now, they might do that, but if they float at a slight premium over the dollar, I think it's going to hit 322 and above almost instantaneously, because the situation in Iraq is so much better than it was when they went into a program rate at 322. The country's in better shape. Industry is much better. They've begun with agriculture. They've developed a trade system. They've neutralized Iraq. Add to that 20 years of inflation. When you add all that in, 322 actually seems like a low rate. Now, would I exchange my dinar today for 322? Yep. Yeah, I would. But, and that's the other issue while I'm on the subject, we have to be careful with the exchange, because if you look at the Kuwaiti dinar climbed up to over $7, and then it dropped back down to, I think it was 346, if I recall. Well, that could happen with the Iraqi dinar. The Iraqi dinar could hypothetically hit double digit and then fall right back down. So we have to be a little bit careful and not try to squeeze every dime out of this, because if you purchased $1 million dinar for $1,000, whatever the rate's going to be, you're going to do very, very well. And my advice is go to the bank, do your exchange, don't look back. Be thankful, because you will have had a very, very good day at the office. Now, there's not much more to add to this. I'll finish where I began. The final piece of this puzzle was Donald Trump. What he's accomplished in his second term is literally unprecedented. I know people don't like his style. And it's unfortunate that people are so stubborn. The only analogy I can make is he gets up the plate and he hits the ball out of the park every time, but because you don't like the guy, you just can't give him credit. He's doing things that they said could not be done, and we're going to be the benefactors of that. Now, I want to talk a little bit about our trust, but before I do, I just want to touch on a couple of other things here, because the politics in this country is a little complicated. Look, for example, what's going on in Texas, what's going on in California, what's going on in Illinois, and we're going to have to traverse some things. For those of us that have currencies, particularly those of us that are just not extremely wealthy individuals, but I'll just use a simple term, are just middle-class individuals, that's not going to be the case. We have one client that has 500 million dinar and 500 million dong. Now, the guy was very well off, but with that much currency, I mean, I don't know, what's he going to do, buy Disneyland? It's just incredible. But things are changing in this country, and we're going back to when the last central bank of the United States, the Federal Reserve, was originally established. We're going back over 100 years. Now, the Federal Reserve was a left turn the country didn't need to take. But roughly between 1880 and 1910, the United States, that was our first golden age. That's when we became a player globally. We became an extremely rich nation. And that's about to happen again, because the central bank system has really drained this company. We lost manufacturing. We lost purchasing power. People's incomes went up, but it did not keep pace with inflation. As an example, when the Federal Reserve was created, the amount of goods and services you could purchase for $100, today, those same goods and services would cost you $2,150. That's a Federal Reserve system. It impoverishes people. And all of this is about to be wiped away. But even if the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve is going to be restructured, if not done away with, in my view, with what Trump's doing, even if the Federal Reserve remains. If you are a denarian, you're going to have sufficient wealth that if you manage it properly, you're going to be financially independent, as will your children and your grandchildren. So this is a blessing we simply cannot afford to waste. There's nothing more pathetic than a wealthy person that becomes a poor person because, there's nowhere to go. You had the good life, and now you really know what it's like to be poor, and we don't want to have that happen to anyone. And the best single thing an individual can do to ensure that doesn't happen is to have good financial advice, to have good legal advice, and to structure your wealth in such a way that it cannot be taken from you, and that you yourself will not be your worst enemy and lose it. And the way this is accomplished is by establishing our asset protection trust package. I'm going to be brief here, and then we'll go to a Q&A. But this trust package is indispensable for protecting and preserving your wealth. 1 in 4 millionaires is sued, and half of those cases are frivolous cases. What attracts lawsuits is not bad behavior. What attracts lawsuits is wealth. So by protecting your wealth, by protecting your privacy, you almost avoid lawsuits. And let me explain why. Again, with this trust, you will preserve your privacy and your anonymity. The trust operates under an EIN number. You operate under a Social Security number. Under the law, the trust is sealed, meaning no one can pierce that trust to even know what's in it unless they go to a court of law and show cause, meaning establish in court that you have in some way defrauded them. This trust will also allow you to avoid IRS scrutiny. While you're the beneficiary of the trust, the business activities occur within the trust. The IRS tends to avoid sophisticated trust packages because they know you have sophisticated legal representation. The IRS moves quickly. They go after the low-hanging fruit. So that's another benefit. The third benefit is pre-RV gifting. Many of our clients have expressed desire to give currencies to family and friends, but they've opted not to gift or to gift much less than they wanted to because, for whatever reason, they're afraid that individual is simply incapable of managing that wealth. While our trust package has a gift subtrust in it, meaning you can gift the currencies to the individual. You can avoid the federal gift tax by gifting a pre-RV, but you will also have complete control of the post-RV proceeds. This can only be accomplished through this subtrust. I know of no other trust that has this subtrust, and the reason I know that is because I wrote that subtrust. The fourth benefit is this trust is going to allow you to avoid the cost and delay of probate and the federal estate tax. Why? Because there is no probate. You circumvent probate by having the assets in trust. Second, because the assets are in trust, they don't change hands. There is no change of ownership. You are the beneficiary of the trust, but because the trust remains the owner, there's no federal estate tax. Why is that important? The federal estate tax can be as much as 55% of your entire estate in excess of $12 million. So this means that your heirs will receive privately their respective inheritance. They will receive it immediately because there's no probate, and they will receive 100 cents on the dollar because there's no federal estate tax. The last issue is the asset protection this trust provides, and only a package of trusts such as this can provide. Pre-RV, this trust will allow you to avoid something called the Uniform Fraudulent Transfer Act. What does that mean? It means that when you gifted the currencies to the trust and took them out of title, let's say, for example, you had 10 million dinar. You paid $10,000 for it. You transfer the currencies to the trust. Let's say they subsequently revalued for $1. So now you have $10 million in trust. Can you personally be sued for $10 million? No. Why? Because the currencies were only worth $10,000 when you transferred them out of title to the trust. Post-RV, there's a benefit I like to refer to as limited liability stop loss. This protects you from future bad acts after you've acquired this wealth. This protection is accomplished through a strategy called segregation of assets. Very simply, you purchase dinar, 10 million dinar. You assign them to our trust. They subsequently revalue, again, for $10 million. Now that you have $10 million in trust, you make some purchases. You purchase a larger home, a couple of cars, a boat, etc. But as you purchase these items, you place each of them in their own separate subtrust. What this means is that in the future, if you should have say a rental property where someone slipped and injured themselves, you're in a car accident, something of that nature, it's only that asset that's involved in the litigation, because all of the other assets are in separate subtrusts, which are separate legal entities not involved in the litigation. So this trust package is indispensable. These are the packages that wealthy people establish all the time. But you have one advantage, and it's this. By establishing the trust before you've acquired this wealth, you have added benefits that you would not have if you established the trust after the revaluation. So this is why we've been marketing the trust to Denarians pre-RV, because of the added advantage of all these benefits. Simply because you've transferred the asset out of title, you still have control of it, but it's not titled to you. It's titled to the trust of which you are the beneficiary. Now, this trust package was initially a rather sophisticated trust package we've utilized for our clients, a package that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. By mass marketing this trust to Denarians, we've been able to reduce the cost to $2,500. What I would strongly suggest you do, if you are interested in this package, and before I get into that, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and open the Q&A here. When I'm done here, if anyone has any questions, I'll be happy to take them. As I was saying, this trust package was one that had an initial cost of anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000, but when we decided to work with Denarians, we knew that price tag would be unaffordable for many. So by mass marketing it through these calls and our other work, we've been able to reduce the cost to $2,500. Now, this is phase 2 of the experience for a Denarian. Phase 1 is purchasing the currencies and patiently waiting for them to revalue. Phase 2 is protecting that wealth for yourself and your family. I would argue that the only way you can guarantee, yes, the word guarantee, to protect that wealth, the only thing it can't protect you from is your own personal errors. But if you establish this trust, if you're an honorable person, and you behave yourself, that this wealth will be preserved for you and your family. As I said, this trust package, the cost of which has been reduced from as much as $10,000 down to $2,500. That would be impossible if you were to call Trusts Unlimited. You were not a Denarian. You were just some guy that was a fairly wealthy individual, or someone that was anticipating an inheritance and said, well, I want to set up a trust to do the following. Again, it would cost you anywhere from $6,000 to $10,000. But if you're a Denarian listening to our calls, you possess dinar, and you want to establish this trust, you can do so for $2,500. We will send you our initial package. It contains everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're under no obligation to do so. If you should make the decision to proceed, everything you need is there. To make the payment, to send us your initial application, we'll review the app, contact you if there's any issues. We will prepare that trust. You should have your trust within 5 working days. Now, that could change if this continues what has been going on continues, which is we've had a lot of requests come in. We had to put on some additional paralegals. We will if necessary, but we will do our absolute best to get this trust to you within 5 days, if not sooner. And given what's going on in Iraq, thankfully, time is short. A lot of us have been involved in this for a long time. A lot of individuals purchased currencies they could ill afford to purchase at the time, but they felt this was the best way long-term to provide for themselves and their families. A lot of people, unfortunately, even found themselves in a position where they had to sell back some of their currencies. It's a shame, but life being what it is, those things can happen. But now, in my humble opinion, we're on the threshold of this thing. I think it's going to be even bigger than we anticipated. I think we have all the right players in Iraq, and more importantly, I think we have all the right players in the United States. And so now, if you have not done so, it would be a very good time to contact us to get our initial no-obligation package. Again, it contains everything you need if you wish to proceed, but you're under no obligation to do so. We'll be happy to help you in every way that we can, and we hope that those of you that are in a position to do so will avail themselves of this trust package. I can assure you, from the years of work I've done in the past, you will not regret establishing this trust package. So let's go ahead. We have some callers in the queue here. Our first caller is area code 808. That's 808. Go ahead. Hello.
Good morning. It's
Hello.
Daisy.
It's Daisy from Hawaii, right?
Yes.
I see the 808. That's why I knew.
First, the belated happy birthday. Yours is in the 12th. Mine is tomorrow.
Happy birthday. I hope you're not as old as me.
Probably around the same.
Okay. Well, then we need this money as soon as possible.
Yes, we don't have much longer.
That's right. That's right. We'll have to go on a crazy spending spree.
Yes, I will. Anyway, my question was, you talked about a second EIN number. Is that the right word?
No, what I said was that we operate under a Social Security number, but our trust operates under an EIN number. So to some degree, you're off the grid because you can't associate you by the EIN on the trust.
Right, but I remember a couple of calls ago that somebody said something. I already have mine that, you said to get ready.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the second one, that we may need a second one, can that be done after we establish the trust?
Yes.
I mean, after we get, okay.
There are two EIN numbers, one for the master trust and one if you have the gift subtrust. But you don't need the EIN for the gift subtrust when you go to the bank to do the exchange. The one you need is the EIN for the master trust, because once you negotiate the exchange of the currency, the USD will then go into the master trust bank account that will be established that day at the bank. And in order to establish that account, they need the EIN number.
Okay, which I already have. Okay.
Then you're good to go.
Okay. My second question is, I don't think they've contacted you yet, but I have a grandkid who wants to establish a trust with you, but they don't have any dong or dinar. But I told them about our system and why they should get one, even though they don't have that money yet, in their thing.
Well, are you going to give them currencies?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if they did not establish a trust, the way to gift it to them would be through the gift subtrust. But if you're going to gift them the currencies outright, then you need to do that now before the RV, so you don't have to pay a gift tax on the gift. And then they will have the currency so that when they go to the bank to do the exchange themselves, they can put the USD into the trust bank account, master trust bank account. So if I were you, I would gift that currency to them now, outright.
Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to get to, they're supposed to be contacting you to make their own trust, and I was wondering if I could purchase the currencies and then gift it to them. No, that's not how to do it, right?
Well, it doesn't matter whether you purchase it for them or you gift them something you have. However, time might be of the essence. So I would move quickly if I were you, because there's a couple extra steps to what you're doing. So gift them, purchase the currency, gift the currency to them, and then they can establish their trust and assign the gifted currencies to the trust. And I can show them how to do that. You might want to send me an email and say, well, such and such is about to establish a trust. If they contact you, I'm dealing with them. You know, or however you want to do it, just so I know that I'm working with your family. Okay?
Okay. All right. So I'll make sure I get that, get them on it, and at least have them sent for the trust package. Yeah.
Well, have them do that. Okay. Have them mention you. Okay?
Okay.
In the request, identify themselves as, you know, who they are. So, you know, I'll know what's going on. Okay?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You take care. Sure. All right.
You too.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Okay, our next caller is area code 785. That's 785. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim. Another thing that we haven't really brought up lately here is, well, I think this all might come down, you know, politics is politics, where it's here or there. They got elections coming up in November, and you would think that if you want to get reelected, you would get the people their money, so, you know, things would be even better for the people of Iraq over there. So I think that's
I absolutely think that every decision of this nature has a political component in it, but Donald Trump he's literally looking back 100 years or more. Remember when he first came into office, he had a bust of Andrew Jackson. And Andrew Jackson was the president that established the second central bank in the United States, or ended the second central bank in the United States. So he was telling everyone right off the bat, not outright. It's funny because he gives symbols and he does things that you have to pay close attention to what he's actually doing. And he was signaling to everyone a radical change. Now, I think the people that sued him, impeached him, indicted him, shot him, did all these things, knew what he was trying to do. That is end the Federal Reserve, which is the third central bank of America. And that may sound melodramatic, but every single president that's been assassinated or suffered an assassination attempt was doing the exact same thing with the central bank. So
yeah,
it's very interesting.
That is very historical how that's played out. It really is. But I was just thinking in terms of Sadani over there, if he wants to get reelected, too, to give them what they need for the people that he has promised them, you know.
Yes, yeah. He promised on Allah, and as a Muslim, that's just not something you take lightly.
Right.
So, yeah, I think lately Soudani's been dragging his feet a little bit. I was a little worried about it, but I think it was because they just had more work to do before they pulled the trigger. But everything they're doing says to me they're going to pull the trigger. I can't think of a single thing they're doing that and say, oh, that's bad. You know, so
yeah.
So I just think the momentum is there.
I was worried a little bit about Sadani dragging his feet too, and I thought, well, you know, maybe they're threatening him over there, and he's getting Iran's getting in his head or something, But I think, like you say, I think there's just so much to do, and they move slow. But I think with Trump there, he's pushing them. So to dovetail a little bit on the lady's last question, I want to see if I understand this. Okay, I got a trust. I decided that I just want to, instead of getting the gift sub trust, that I would just give my kids the $15,000 a year gift that's tax free every year for the next 10 years, or however long I live until I pass it on.
It's actually higher than that now.
Yeah, is it 17.5 or something like that?
I think it's 17.5 now, and it'll continue periodically to go up. But there are a lot of people that are just going to do it that way,
Yeah, but if you was to get if you have a gift sub trust, you need to get for example, let's say I was going to give $100,000 of dinar to my kids. I need to do that before it RVs and get it assigned to the sub trust or to the gift trust. Correct?
What you would do is you would set up this. You would contact us and say, I would like to set up a gift sub trust. You give us the name of your master trust.
Mm-hmm.
You set the gift sub trust up, and when we send you the documents, one of the documents is a gifting letter, and in the gifting letter, you would write down the names of the individuals that you are gifting within the sub trust and how much of each currency. What would happen is you'd go to the bank, you'd negotiate the exchange of your currency. All of that money would then go into the master trust bank account established again that day at that bank. You will go back about a week or so later when that money is available with your gift sub trust. Say, I've got a gift sub trust and I want to establish 3 bank accounts for the gift sub trust. Now, if you'd have tried to do all that in one bite at the bank at the exchange, you're going to have a problem. So don't do that. Right. Then you would set up the accounts, and you would simply transfer the USD to each of those 3 accounts, and you're good to go. Now, you don't have to do the gift sub trust the same day as you exchange for the master trust, but you do have to have it set up pre-RV. So if you want to set it up, you need to send us an email. And if I don't have all the information I need, I'll call you and we'll work it all out. But I hate to sound like a used car salesman, but time might be of the essence, so I do it as soon as possible.
Right. I don't think I'm going to go that route. I think I'm just going to do the 17.5. But I have one last scenario I may need to contact you on. Okay. I have an elderly brother that I turned on to this, and he bought $1 million, okay? And I told him, I said, why don't you go ahead and buy another $500,000? Because he didn't, at his age, he's about 85 or so. I said, listen, just go ahead and buy you enough to pay the tax. If he's got $1 million.
I understand. Yeah, you want him to walk away with $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah, you want him to walk away with $1 million. But
yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
I don't want to sound cheap, like I don't want to buy a trust for him, but I don't want to complicate things. Is there a way that he could gift that to me and I could put it in my trust and then?
Exactly. He gifts you the currency. He has to do it pre-RV. He has to gift you the currency. You will need to take the gift letter along with you because you're going to say, well, I have 10 million dinar that I purchased. Here's my proof of purchase. And I got $1 million here that was gifted to me. Here's the gift letter. So they'd exchange all 11 million. They'd put it into your master trust bank account, and then you could invest that money and give him his proportionate share.
Okay, but I have to have a gift sub trust to do that?
No, what's happening is he's trusting you. He's gifting you the money with the idea that he's going to receive the interest from his proportionate share. Now, the problem with that is suppose he does that and the next day you're injured or you're incompetent. So it's a very trusting thing for him to do that. That's why the gift sub trust works, because once that's established, you can't undo that or rip the guy off. I'm not saying you'd rip them off or not. I'm just saying that's the risk that everyone takes when they hand someone $1 million and say, here's $1 million. I expect you to pay me interest on it every year. A lot of things can happen that are not in control.
Yeah, I just wanted him to be able to do whatever he wants with his life that he can do. Now, can I give him, let's say he's got property he wants to pay off. I can still take money through the trust out of his proportion and pay off his debts, and then he can live off the interest of his, correct?
Oh, yeah, of course you can do that. But what I'm saying is what you guys ought to do is have a little supplemental document, write it all up, and both of you sign it, and both of you have a copy of a signed document so that you're clear on everything. Not because you may not trust each other, but because if something happens to either one of you, you've established in writing what the deal is.
Okay, I'll get in touch with you on that. Thank you, Jim.
Okay, sure. All right, bye-bye now. See, our next caller is area code 615. That's 615. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. How are you today?
Okay. Who's this?
This is Bill from Nashville.
Hey, Bill. Yes, sir.
How you doing? Hey, got a question. Going back into your memory, when, as I understand it, Shabibi was the guy that kind of was the architect of what's going on initially over there now. Do you recall what his projection was on the... Pardon?
He was the initial architect of the monetary reform, and then, of course, he subsequently passed away. But he's interesting because he calculated that the Iraqi dinar would be double-digit in value. So I hope he's right.
Yeah.
But he was the initial architect.
That was my question as to, do you recall what his projection of the real effective exchange rate would potentially be?
He potentially said, I believe it was $15.
Yeah, that's what I had heard. So, yeah.
And they're still following his protocol. Yeah, he was an interesting guy. I would suggest people Google him to get, to find out more about him because, if there was one person in country that's not getting any credit for what's going on, it's Shabibi.
You're right. Yeah. Because he established the blueprint for what Wyman and K2 are using right now.
Exactly.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too. Thanks for your call. Okay, our next caller is area code 619. That's 619. Go ahead.
Hey, Big Jim, how are you?
Hey, Eddie, what's up?
Hey, question on the subtrust. Let's say myself, I got 4 cars, okay? I want to put 1 car in each subtrust, and would I name it subtrust car 1, subtrust car 2, 3, 4? Or should I call it the Cadillac, as an example?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, my 1964 Aston Martin, my 1958 Chevrolet Corvette. I'm telling you the ones I'm buying. Let me see what else. I'm not kidding. I'm buying those 2 cars.
Well, good for you.
I'm deadly serious.
Hey, I'm still waiting for my scooter you promised me. So, hey, here's another question. Let's say I name a trust Eddie's Barbershop, subtrust, okay? But somebody in Texas also calls it Eddie's Barbershop. Is that going to be an issue? I would think that the names of the master trust are a little different. But.
It would definitely be an issue with the master trust because the master trust needs an EIN number, and that would turn up when you apply for your EIN number.
Right.
It wouldn't be a problem with the. It wouldn't be a problem with a standard subtrust because it doesn't have an EIN number. Now, the gift subtrust has to have an EIN number too because, unlike the rest of your trust, you are the trustee of the gift subtrust. Right. And since it's a different trustee, that trust would also need an EIN number. But with a subtrust, there shouldn't be an issue. Now, people, I've come up with these crazy names. We had one individual apply for a trust. We had to decline it. He wanted to call his master trust the Nothing to My Ex-Wife Trust. We said we can't do that. Okay, I mean, the judge is going to haul us in and going, "What the hell are you guys thinking?"
I might back him up on that one, Jim.
Yeah, I should have said to him, he said, "Nothing to my ex-wife subtrust." I should have said, "Which one?"
yeah, exactly. Let's see, what else did I have? When it comes to the subtrust again, these are all subtrust questions. I know we are responsible for filing the tax return on it. And is there a specific form do you have for filling out the subtrust?
There is a trust form, but however, you only, for example, if you have a subtrust, it's usually an asset that's not generating income or something. In other words, there's no taxable event. The asset in there may increase or decrease in value, but that's not a taxable event. So I kind of think of the only subtrust where there's a tax issue would be the gift subtrust, because that's,
so let's say I put it in an investment.
The other subtrust, I want to create a subtrust for my guitar collection, okay, and I've got an incredible collection of guitars, but I mean, there's no taxable event. On my tax return, I don't put on there the value of the guitars has gone up. Now, if I sell a guitar and make a profit on it, theoretically, I should be, paying the tax on that. But, people buy and sell guitars, and, it's not, unless it's some ridiculous collectible, that you pay, $50,000 for or something like that. That's not, right. It's not really an issue.
No, I'm talking about where you put $1 million into an investment in a subtrust, and it's spinning off interest, so therefore you would then have a tax return on that, correct?
Yeah, but that would be filed with your that when you file the master trust tax return, you would, because that's the manager of the other subtrust, you'd put in there subtrust, whatever the name is, taxable. It'd be part of the one tax return that the master trust files. It's not a separate filing. It's part of the master trust filing.
Well, I'm a little lost because let's just use round numbers. My master has $10 million. Out of that $10 million, I grant my son $1 million to a subtrust. Okay, I'm not benefiting from that. That's his money now. I've given it to him. I did the letter and everything.
Right. Yes, but you're the trustee.
So my question is, why would I be paying the tax? You would be his portion.
That's right. He would receive the interest payment, and he would have to declare that interest and pay the tax on it.
Okay. All right. I got it.
All right.
That makes sense. That takes care of me, buddy. Thank you so much for all you do, your hard work, your committed time to this weekly call. I know it's a lot of work, and we appreciate you.
Well, thanks a lot. I appreciate that. You take care, Eddie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, our next caller is area code 312. That's 312. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim, it's Les in Chicago. How you doing, buddy?
Les, how you been, man? I haven't heard from you in a while.
It's been a couple weeks, but I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Same old.
All right. All righty. One question for me. I heard over the weekend that the lower denom in Iraq has been out. The 1s, 5s, 10s, 20s, in that manner. Have you heard anything like that?
I heard that too, but I haven't been able to confirm it, so I didn't say anything. But since you brought it up, I can say I heard that too.
Okay. Is your contact still there, your relative? Is he still in country?
Actually, he's not in country, but he's got contacts, and I have some of my own.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm sure you'll keep us abreast of things if that should ever.
Yes. This is just my opinion, but I really feel like we're pretty damn close. They're just running out of I's to dot and T's to cross. That's where we are. Here's a list of 10 things we got to do. Well, 9 of them are done, and they're working on the 10th. So that tells you, we're close. Okay. And the other thing is we got a rainmaker in the White House, and he just got the pedal to the metal. I mean, the guy's unbelievable. I know people don't like him. I know he rubs some people the wrong way. I know he doesn't talk like an Obama, but he actually says things that matter. That's the difference,
That's what matters. That's what
exactly.
Matters.
Yeah. I mean, his 5 or 6 months in office have been absolutely unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
And so if he's true to form, I mean, he wants this. Remember, one of the other things he said he wanted is he didn't like the fact that countries were devaluing their currencies to corner the trade market. What that would also apply, as I said, would also apply to countries that intentionally remain in a program rate like Vietnam for other reasons. And he just wants all that to stop. He says, I want a level playing field. And that's what Basel compliance is about. Instead of countries arbitrarily through the fiat system valuing their currency, we have a Basel compliance system where the value of the currency is based on a formula, and the formula says the Iraqi dinar is worth a hell of a lot more than 1310.
Okay.
All right.
They're supposed to change the rate, and we're looking for it, and I thank you for everything. Say hi to the professor, and enjoy the rest of your day, buddy.
You too, my friend. Take care, Les. Bye-bye now.
Likewise. Bye.
Okay, our next caller is area code 310. That's 310. Go ahead.
Hi, Jim. It's Larry. It's actually 301, but that's okay. Larry from Maryland.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
That's okay. No problem. Had 2 questions for you, and I missed the beginning, so hopefully it's not too repetitious. The gift subtrust, and this is kind of a future question. If I'm understanding it, that's to avoid taxes. You're gifting your children, whomever, which is basically for me, my children. At some point, I will be passing this trust on to them, since I'll be too old to worry about it or won't be here. What happens to the gift trust if I'm not the trustee and they're actually in charge of now their own gift subtrust? Does that a taxable situation? What goes on at that point?
All right. Well, first, you're gifting pre-RV currencies to people you want to assist. By gifting them pre-RV, you avoid the gift tax. By gifting through the gift subtrust, you've added one wrinkle to it, and that is you are in control of the post-RV proceeds because you are the trustee of that one subtrust within the package. Now, if something were to happen to you, then the successor trustee would assume what your duties are. However, after the revaluation, after people have gone to the banks and done their exchange, and now they actually possess this wealth in trust, then a lot of other changes have to be made in your life. For example, a lot of the things you own, you're going to sell or gift away. You're going to, move up in class, lack of a better way of saying it. You're also going to rewrite wills, powers of attorney. All of that's going to change. So you will establish the pecking order if, for example, something were to happen to you and you want to make sure that the funds are administered through the gift subtrust. Now, what some people might say is, you know what, if I pass away, I just want them to have the lump sum. Just liquidate the subtrust and give them that's what some people will do. Other people will have, sometimes people have special needs that you can't ever give them the money. So everyone's situation is a little different. But we'll be discussing all of those scenarios after the revaluation because we won't be spending any time marketing the trust or establishing the trust. We'll be spending all of our time managing the assets within the trust, and that includes issues where people are disabled or people have passed away, etc.
Right, because all of this is going to be substantial sums of money, and obviously we want to make sure the succession issues. I mean, I just thinking like sort of the day after it happens, you want to be addressing some of that. Not that it's, but that's certainly going to be a concern. You got to make sure it moves on to the people you want it to.
Right. It's the dog that finally caught the school bus. Now what do I do?
Right.
Right. So that's why we'll completely shift, and we'll be dealing with all of those post-RV issues. And that's going to be more complicated because pre-RV, it's simple. You purchase the currency,
Yep.
you establish the trust, you assign the currencies to the trust. Same thing for everyone. But post-RV,
Okay.
ages are different, family situations are different, health situations are different, everything's different. Even taxes are different because we have clients in other countries. So, we'll just have to deal with the complexities of that. But I'd much rather be an extremely wealthy person that has some complexities than a person living hand to mouth whose life is pretty simple.
Yeah, but I mean, I can see like the value is nothing now, but afterwards it's enormous, and obviously well inside of an amount that the IRS wants to know about.
Well, the IRS will get their fair share. I kind of, there was a lot of debate whether this was going to be cap gain or ordinary income, and we've discussed at length why we believe it's ordinary income. But let's assume, in other words, if it's ordinary income and we assume cap gain, we underpay the tax, and then we have to pay 100% penalty plus interest. If we pay ordinary income and it turns out it's cap gain, we'll get a refund, and the only thing we've lost is interest on the money over those few months. So, and we've gotten into that discussion, but we'll get into that again in detail. Once the dinar hits the 4X, then everything flips, and we'll just completely change what we discuss and why. And the issues you bring up, of course, are very important and will be discussed at that time. And that's probably when we'll be bringing in some other people, tax people and other lawyers as well.
Okay. My other question, and I apologize because I did miss your opening statements. Last week you had indicated September 1st may be a critical day, which is pretty close, depending on where we are today, because every day could be different. Are we at a point where we know our banks are willing to admit whether they're going to be dealing with this, or will it really be after the revaluation that you'll be able to tell us where we're going to do the exchange?
What do you mean by with the banks? We pretty much know who the major banks are that will be doing exchanges. A lot of banks that do currency exchanges may not be able to handle the magnitude of these, or might not be competitive. But the bank that you do your exchange at may not be the bank you want to leave the money, or at least a lot of the money. Number one is you go to the bank, you negotiate your exchange, the money goes into the trust bank account, you make sure they don't put a 20-day hold on your money, which they shouldn't do. They just want that float for themselves. So that's all negotiated pre-RV, and we'll be discussing that as well. And then, for me, I want to get it out of the bank as soon as possible. And it worked for me, and, technically it's not my money, it's the bank's. I mean, if, they're in control of it, and to the extent that if they screw it up, then I can do about it. So I just honestly, I don't like banks. It's kind of ironic. We're going to make a lot of money going to the bank, but for myself, I'm going to put it in other things, real estate, things of that nature. And everyone else has their own plan, but you don't need a lot of liquidity. If you have $10 million in the bank, why do you need $10 million of liquidity for what?
Right.
So if you have $10 million,
where we're going,
I'm going to leave $100,000 in the bank, and I'm going to put the rest of it in other assets.
But and then so for the moment, just hang in there, keep listening, and when it happens, we'll know. You'll keep us informed as to where to be going. Which one?
The moment the dinar hits the 4X, everything flips. We're not going to be marketing the trust. We're not going to have discussions about establishing the trust. We're going to have discussions about funding the trust, funding the sub-trust, general information about investments, things of that nature, and taxes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you much. And thank you also for all your hard work. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Take care. Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Well, that was our last caller for this afternoon. Again, I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time to listen to this call. I think the calls are getting a lot more interesting, not certainly not because of my input per se, but just because of where we find ourselves in this long saga. We're rounding the fourth turn here. Things are really, really looking good. Momentum is rising. The people in charge in Iraq are the right individuals in my position. Donald Trump is absolutely the guy you want at the throttle here in the United States. So everything's looking very, very good. However, if you have not contacted us to get our initial no obligation package, I would strongly suggest you do so without delay, because I can honestly say, at least in my opinion, the time is short. You can contact us by email or phone. Our email address is trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com. That's trusts with an S, unlimited LLC @gmail.com. And our phone service, which is 307-274-4122. That's 307-274-4122. Contact us by email or phone. We'll get our trust package out to you as quickly as possible. Again, you're under no obligation by receiving the package. It does contain everything you need if you wish to proceed. And God willing, we're going to be having a whole different level of discussion in the very near future. Our next call is scheduled, of course, for next week. Certainly, if something of a dramatic nature were to happen between now and then, we'll try to get out an emergency email and schedule an emergency conference call. But failing that, we'll be back next Wednesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great week. God bless.